Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Donald Trump, set to be sworn in as U.S. President, will likely sign a number of executive orders on day one. Tik Tok restores its services in the U.S. after Trump signals that he will save it. The World Economic Forum kicks off in Davos. Trade tensions and artificial intelligence to dominate the talks. And relief and joy as Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners reunite with their families. Donald Trump will be inaugurated as the 47th U.S. President in a star-studded event that will be attended by a galaxy of foreign dignitaries, including India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. The inauguration event was supposed to take place in front of the Capitol, but was shifted indoors because of the freezing weather conditions in the wake of an Arctic blast. Along with Trump, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance will also take the oath of office, following which Trump will deliver his inaugural address. Foreign leaders expected at the inauguration are Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Argentina's President Javier Milei, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, and others. Russia's President Vladimir Putin was not invited, though Trump hinted at a separate meeting later. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky are also among the notable absences. Earlier on Sunday, Donald Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier at the Arlington National Cemetery, continuing a tradition for incoming leaders ahead of their inauguration. They were joined by their families, including Melania Trump and Usha Vance, along with National Security Cabinet nominees such as Senator Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, Elise Stefanik, and Doug Collins. On the eve of his inauguration, President-elect Donald Trump staged a campaign-style rally in frigid Washington, D.C. at the Capital One Arena, where he and his supporters celebrated his win. During his speech, Trump touched on a variety of topics, including the West Asia ceasefire, Tik Tok, and his day one actions as president. Here's a report.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump rallied his supporters at Capital One Arena in downtown Washington, D.C. just a day before his inauguration. The event marked his first major address in Washington since his speech on January 6, 2021, the day of the Capitol attack. In his address, Trump said that he will pardon many of more than 1,500 people convicted or charged in connection with the Capitol attack. Trump repeated his campaign pledge to launch the largest deportation effort in U.S. history, which would eventually remove millions of immigrants. Trump further said he would impose severe limits on immigration on his first day in office.
The border security measures I will outline in my inaugural address tomorrow will be the most aggressive, sweeping effort to restore our borders. We will quickly reestablish control of our sovereign territory and borders. We will expel every single illegal alien, gang member, and migrant criminal operating on American soil and remove the savage gang Tren de Aragua from the United States. Every radical and foolish executive order of the Biden administration will be repealed within hours of when I take the oath of office.
Trump's advisor and world's richest man, Elon Musk, also addressed the crowd. Musk said that he is looking forward to make changes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, little X just followed me on the stage here.
He's a very enthusiastic supporter, as you can see.
Washington, D.C. is buzzing with thousands of Trump supporters as officials rush to ensure that the inauguration ceremony can go ahead indoors due to inclement weather. Supporters of Trump shared their disappointment about the inauguration ceremony being moved indoors because of unusually cold weather.
Very disappointed because this was all last minute change, and I reserved right after the election, and because of the Los Angeles fires, we contemplated whether or not to come. We ended up deciding to come, and then we heard about the blizzard, so that was another reason why not to come, but it was just too important to miss it. So we ended up coming, and now we're just, winging it and seeing where we can go and what we can do. It's just great to meet all these people too. Actually, this is well worth it.
I want to show Mr. Trump's support. That's the most important thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be this wet or this cold for any other person but Mr. Donald Trump. He deserves this. He deserves this position. He deserves to win. And I just want to be here to let him know that we care.
This event has served as a capstone to one of the most remarkable comebacks in American political history. Trump, his loyal allies, and his political movements are joyous and promising fundamental change starting from the day he takes oath of office. And he will be back in this arena in less than 24 hours to address his supporters, but this time as the President of the United States of America. Bureau Report, BT India.
And Jessica Taneja joins for more on this developing story. Jessica, Minister Jaishankar would be representing India at the Trump inauguration. What can we expect on the India-US front in Trump 2.0?
That's correct. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will be attending the swearing in ceremony, which will be taking place shortly. And you saw he's just having tea with the Bidens and Trumps right now, and then they move towards the oath-taking ceremony arena, and after that, pretty much the entire set of routine to follow along with the speeches as well as the various balls that he is going to then attend. But with relations to India, and engagement has of course been far and wide, as we have seen in the recent past. Even during Trump's earlier presidency in 2016, things have moved quite swiftly between India and the United States, starting from becoming major defense partners, which of course saw unanimous support and bipartisan support from all across the board in the United States Congress. And looking at how it's proceeded so far, and a lot of what the Biden administration did carry forward and continue to support and strengthen on, particularly high-tech solutions and also critical and emerging technologies that became a key component of that part. And also, the revival of Quad and many other initiatives that really saw the India-United States relationship move ahead and build on very, very concrete steps and continue to see momentum even to this date. So with now the second Trump presidency, yes, there are roadblocks like there is with any other relations that India, perhaps in every other country, shares around the world. There could be certain things that become sticky points. For example, could be the visa issues, the H-1B visa, or particularly a trade balance, which Trump would not prefer other countries to have, and also imposition of certain tariffs and many other host of issues that could potentially be discussed, but nothing, so to say, to affect the current comprehensive strategic partnership, as both would like to call it, which it has now evolved into, would really be affected to the level that trade relationships are destabilized, or immigration becomes a massive issue. All can be solved within the ambit of diplomacy, and certainly what we've seen in the past as well with Trump 1.0, Trump 2.0 could, of course, come with its own set of challenges, but I think it is something that India has seen before, and it is something that the Indian officials perhaps will be able to navigate much easily this time around.
Jessica, you referred to the Quad. Now, it was Trump who revived the Quad. And
That's correct.
India will host the Quad summit later this year. Can we expect Trump to maintain a sharp focus on the Indo Pacific?
That's right. Ramesh should recall an interesting time back in Trump's presidency. It was on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Philippines when the two leaders had met, Prime Minister Modi along with President Donald Trump back in the day, and the kind of importance that was laid on the Quad or the revival of Quad. Now, Quad has, as we know, existed since 2011 and 2007 as well, I believe. But the kind of importance it's given to, because of the elevation to the leaders level summit with Donald Trump, of course, reviving it to that effect, has seen a lot of fruition with countries like India, Japan, United States and Australia joining hands, and we've seen how that has progressed, be it joint military exercises to other initiatives, especially with America's Indo-Pacific strategy. And now it was, in fact, President Donald Trump back then who changed the Asia-Pacific policy, focusing it on the Indo-Pacific policy, making India the center of his policy when it comes to looking at how various other actors in the region would destabilize trade and threaten security interest, meaning China. And something to that effect, of course, has seen both India and America engage on multiple fronts, and perhaps not just the Quad, but also the kind of strengthened partnership, especially under the Indo-Pacific strategy, be it ISET or be it the COMCASA, which was the Communications Compatibility Security Agreement signed again during Sushma Swaraj when she was the Foreign Affairs Minister, along with Defense Minister back then, Nirmala Sitharaman, at the 2+2 dialogue. All of them eventually have seen fruition, be it collaboration in high-tech or the potentiality of the jet engine deal. All of that has materialized, especially in defense sectors and tech sectors. Let's not forget quantum tech and semiconductors, which India and US have been collaborating quite fervently these days.
Jessica, thank you. Jessica Taneja reporting there on what to expect in the next several hours before and after Trump's inauguration. In other news, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, who is in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration ceremony of the U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, held meetings with his counterparts from Australia and Japan. In a social media post, Minister Jaishankar expressed happiness over his meeting with Japanese Foreign Minister Iwaya Takeshi. The two leaders reviewed progress in bilateral cooperation and also discussed developments related to the Quad. In another post, Minister Jaishankar said he enjoyed his discussion on the state of the world with Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong. The Quad comprises India, Australia, Japan and the United States. U.S. President Joe Biden issued preemptive pardons on Monday for people Republican successor Donald Trump has targeted for retaliation, including former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley and former White House Chief Medical Advisor Anthony Fauci. The pardon also covers all lawmakers who served on the Congressional Select Committee that investigated the 6 January 2021 storming of the Capitol by Trump supporters and police officers who testified before it. Trump, who is set to return to the presidency, has repeatedly called for the prosecution of his perceived enemies since winning the White House in November. In a major development for social media users, Tik Tok has begun restoring its services in the U.S. This comes after President-elect Donald Trump intervened to ensure the popular app remains available for the 170 million Americans who use it. But he says he would like the U.S. to have a 50% ownership position in a joint venture. Aarti Rana reports.
As of today, TikTok is back.
TikTok's comeback is the result of behind-the-scenes negotiations between Team Trump and the Chinese tech giant ByteDance, which owns the app. Earlier, TikTok confirmed that it was in the process of restoring service for its US users following a weekend of uncertainty. This all began after President-elect Trump made it clear he wanted to keep the app available to millions of Americans despite national security concerns regarding TikTok's data collection practices. While TikTok has not yet been made available for download, the company is working with service providers to restore full functionality across the platform. In a statement, TikTok expressed gratitude to President elect Trump for his efforts to ensure the platform remains active, but did not address Trump's call for part American ownership of the app. This development comes amid escalating tensions between the US and China. Earlier this week, the Chinese embassy in Washington accused the US government of using unfair state power to suppress TikTok, while also pledging to protect Chinese interests. For years, President Trump has raised concerns about TikTok's parent company ByteDance, but Trump's opinion has shifted in recent months. In the 2024 election, he praised the app for helping him connect with younger voters, even admitting he has a warm spot for the platform.
We'll take a look at TikTok. You know, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok has something to do with that. Now, Joe Rogan did, and some of the other people that were recommended by my son Barron, he knew names. I said, who is that? Tell me, who's that? Dad, you gotta be kidding. I can't believe you don't know. And I did those interviews, and it was actually sort of cute. Do you want to know the truth? But we did them, and that had an impact. But TikTok had an impact, and so we're taking a look at it.
Although the future of TikTok in the United States remains uncertain, with talks of a potential sale still looming. In 2020, the Trump administration pushed for a deal where American companies like Oracle and Walmart would acquire stakes in the app. Aarti Rana's report for DD India.
It was a day of overwhelming emotions as 3 Israeli women held hostage for 471 days by Hamas finally made it back to their families. Israel also released 90 Palestinian prisoners, completing the first exchange under a long-awaited truce aimed at ending more than 15 months of conflict in Gaza. Is a look at the heartwarming scenes as families on both sides celebrated long-awaited reunions with their loved ones.
It's an unforgettable moment for these hostages. They're thanking their stars today as they have been waiting for this day since long. Emily, Romy, and Doron are finally reuniting with their families.
It's a beautiful day. After so long, we got a beautiful day. There is 3 hostages, young hostages, returning home.
After being handed over to the Red Cross by Hamas in a crowded Gaza square, the 3 hostages were flown back to safety by Israeli security forces. For their families, this moment is nothing short of a miracle.
I'm excited. I was so nervous just that they will come safe and alive to their mother's hands.
In Tel Aviv, crowds erupted in joy as the news broke. Families and strangers alike hugged, cheered, and cried together. For weeks, they had been holding their breath and was waiting for this very moment.
I'm happy to report that they are in stable condition that allows us and them to focus on what is the most important thing for now, is reuniting with their families. They are reunited with their families, and we will continue to monitor their clinical condition.
In return, Israel has released 90 Palestinian prisoners, marking the first steps in this exchange deal. For families on both sides, these reunions are long awaited and deeply emotional. In the West Bank, celebrations filled the air. 2 buses carrying Palestinian prisoners arrived to loud cheers, car horns, and fireworks. Among the freed was 18-year-old Rose Quires, who spoke about her moment of liberation.
We used to see the sky through small squares. I used to say, I hope I will see the sky without these squares. The moment they took us out of prison, I saw the mountains of Carmel and the sky.
This is just the beginning. As part of the historic truce, 33 Israeli hostages taken in Hamas's attack on the 7th of October were to be released in the first phase of the deal. 3 of them have been set free. So for some families on both sides of the border, the wait is over. But for so many others, the fight continues. Bureau Report, DD India.
Every year, the Joonbil Mela in the northeastern state of Assam brings together tribes and communities weaving a rich tapestry of culture, tradition and history. But at its core, the Joonbil Mela is more than just a celebration. It's a living testament to one of the oldest forms of trade, the barter system. Here's a report by Momita Bishwash from Assam.
We have all read about barter system in our books, but will you believe if I say that in Assam, barter system is still in use? Today we will take you to the place, a small town in Assam, where barter system is still in use.
For centuries, the Tiwa, Garo, Boro and the other indigenous communities of Assam gathered for a unique mela called Joonbil Mela, where they come to trade goods in the most unique way through the barter system. In an age dominated by money and technology, here trade is done without a single rupee in sight. Here, a weaver may trade their intricate hand-woven fabrics for vegetables, or a farmer might exchange fresh produce for handmade pottery. This system represents mutual trust, respect, and the value of community.
For many years, my grandmother, my family, and I have been visiting Joonbil Mela. I believe everyone should experience this centuries-old tradition and appreciate its cultural significance.
The Joonbil Mela barter system is not just a means of survival. It is a celebration of interconnectedness. It teaches us that the value of a thing is not just in its price, but in its usefulness, its cultural significance, and its ability to bring people together.
In the era of technology and digital transaction, Joonbil Mela reminds us the beauty of simplicity and the strength of community. The barter system, the age-old barter system, is the living reminder of Assam's timeless tradition. With camera person Pankaj, this is Momita Biswas for DD India.
The 85th All India Presiding Officers Conference was inaugurated by Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. This marks the third time Bihar is hosting the conference, with the last event held in 1982. The theme of the conference is 75th anniversary of the Constitution, contribution of Parliament and state legislative bodies in strengthening constitutional values. During the conference, the Lok Sabha Speaker said the Constitution is the torch bearer of India and presiding officers should uphold the values of the Constitution.
हमारा संविधान हमारा मार्गदर्शन है और इसीलिए पीठासीन अधिकारी के नाते संविधान की भावनाओं के अनुरूप संविधान की व्यवस्थाओं के अनुरूप जो हमारे संविधान निर्माता ने जो संविधान बनाया था उन महान विभूतियों को हम स्मरण करते हैं.
From selling earthen lamps to becoming a Kho-Kho world champion, the captain of the Indian Kho-Kho team, Pratik Vaikar, shares his emotional journey after winning the inaugural edition of the Kho-Kho World Cup in an exclusive conversation with DD India's Abhishek Prasad.
Absolutely electrifying atmosphere here as India have clinched the maiden Kho-Kho World Cup, and right now with me is the captain of the Indian men's team, Pratik. कैसा लग रहा है पहला विश्व कप आपके नाम, इंडिया के नाम?
बहुत खुशी है कि पहला विश्व कप भारत ने जीता है और उसका कैप्टन करने का मौका मुझे मिला था. जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हमारे फेडरेशन ने दी थी कि यस तुम्हें जाके करना है और टीम को जिताना है, तो उस पर खरे उतरा.
बरसों का सफ़र आपका जो संघर्ष रहा है, आप दिए बेचते थे, आपकी माँ सीविंग मशीन करती थी, तो किस तरह आप अपने संघर्ष को याद करते हैं जब आप मुड़ के देखते हैं?
बहुत 24 साल का था संघर्ष मेरा, तो बचपन से ही ऐसा था कि गरीब घर से हूँ, मिडिल क्लास फैमिली से था. तो खेलना है बस। बहुत सारे लोगों ने बताया था कि एकेडमिक्स में अच्छा है तो पढ़ाई कर ले, पर नहीं, मुझे था कि खो खो ही खेलना है, इसमें आगे बढ़ना है, अपना गेम है अपना। क्योंकि मैं हमेशा बोलता था, मुझे बहुत सारे लोग बोलते छोड़ दे अभी, छोड़ दे, तो मैं सभी को यही बोलता था कि मैं जो चीज़ अच्छी कर रहा हूँ वो मैं क्यों छोड़ूँ, बस कुछ नहीं। तो अभी लगता है कि ये गॉड्स प्लान है और वर्ल्ड चैम्पियन हूँ, तो बहुत खुशी है इस बात की। पहले तो मैं थैंक बोलना चाहूँगा हमारे प्रेसिडेंट श्री सुधांशु मित्तल जी और हमारे जनरल सेक्रेटरी श्री MS त्यागी जी को, क्योंकि उन्होंने, उनकी टीम ने बहुत काम किया है और ये खो खो आज वर्ल्ड कप टूर्नामेंट हो रहा है वो उन्हीं की टीम की बदौलत। सेकंड में बोलना चाहूँगा कि जिन लोगों ने खो खो के लिए लाइफ दी है अपनी, क्योंकि ये ऐसा नहीं है कि 2 साल में आ रहे हैं और वर्ल्ड कप हो रहा है, ये लेगेसी है बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स की जिन्होंने खेला है। तो मुझे लगता है कि उन लोगों को ये श्रेय देना चाहता हूँ कि बस मैं एक टॉर्च बेरर हूँ अभी खो खो के लिए, बट उनका श्रेय, क्योंकि उन्होंने खो खो खेलना स्टार्ट किया था और वो खेलते रहे, इसीलिए खो खो आज इस मुकाम पे। और आगे बोलना चाहूँगा मेरी फैमिली को, मेरी माँ ने बहुत एफर्ट्स लिए इसके लिए, पिताजी ने बहुत एफर्ट्स लिए, मुझे मेरे खेल में भी वही दिखता है कि मेरे माँ के एफर्ट्स है और मेरे बाबा की उड़ान है, सपनों की उड़ान है, तो उनके लिए भी वो डेडिकेट करूँ। मेरी वाइफ है, उसने बहुत सहारा है मुझे, क्योंकि जब भी टाइम नहीं मिलता था उसने मुझे कभी कुछ बोला नहीं है। मेरा बेबी है तो उनको भी मैं डेडिकेट करना चाहूँगा ये जीत। और इन द लास्ट मैं खुद को थैंक बोलना चाहूँगा, क्योंकि मैंने छोड़ा नहीं, बहुत ऐसे मौके आए थे, अप्स एंड डाउन्स थे, तो खुश हूँ और मैं खुद के लिए थैंकफुल हूँ कि आज ये मैंने अचीव किया है।
So that was Pratik Waika, the captain of the Indian men's team, and he would like to dedicate his title, his win, to his wife, to his family, a true torchbearer of Indian Kho-Kho. With cameraman Naveen, Abhishek Prasad for DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. We will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.